Hey guys, it's Jacoya of Jacoya Gems. Thank you once again for coming back to my channel. Do me a favor, stop the video, comment, subscribe, and share this video on your social media platforms. So today for a topic I have for you, the 12 different type of abuse. Now with these type of abuse, it's not the only type of abuse that exists, but this is just an overall statement of the different types of abuse. Now, I am not giving out any medical advice. I'm not diagnosing anyone. I will link down below some sources as well as leave some names to some psychologists and some mental health professionals that's also on YouTube, as well as some articles. So the first type of abuse we're going to talk about is probably the most obvious one, physical abuse. Physical abuse does not start with just being hit normally. Normally you're groomed into being physically abused from a relationship standpoint. This may oftentimes start off as grabbing, start off as, kind of a hemming up, start off kind of like with a muffin or a pushing or, a shoulder bump or something like that. It can also start off with, oh, we're play fighting, we're tussling. And play fighting, to me, that's fun. You should be able to even combat and train with the person you're in a relationship with. I'm talking about people that are grooming you to get you used to them putting their hands on you. Physical abuse, unfortunately, has different levels. Some have experienced physical abuse where they've been pushed or they've been shoved or they've been muffed or something like that. Others have experienced physical abuse where they've been slapped, where they've been picked up, where they've been pushed into a wall, where they've been hemmed up. Others have experienced physical abuse when they've literally been hit, when weapons have been used against them, when they've been tossed to the side. So physical abuse is the abuse that mostly leads to death, even though all of these things can lead to death and hospitalization. So intimidation is a form of physical abuse. Parents can also be physically abusive to their children. None of us are perfect. Some parents have gentle parenting. They've never spanked their child. They've never whipped their child. Some people are very African in their standpoint when it's like you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Now, we know as being Black people, there can be a fine line between whooping your child in the legal standpoint by spanking them on their behind, whether it's an open hand or belt. But we also know that there are people who do these things to little children. We also know that there are people who use things like extension cords and rulers and hangers. We know that there are parents who throw things and hit their children with them, who push their children. We know that there are parents who stand over their children and punch walls and scream. And so when these things happen to you in your adolescence, then that's grooming you for physically abusive relationships in the future. The second kind, sexual abuse. There's many layers to sexual abuse because, once again, all sexual abuse isn't just overt. Some things are covert, and so this is where you have coercion, excuse me. And a lot of men and women as well have sexually coerced people that lack boundaries and have the inability to say no. And so men and women walk away feeling as if they've been raped and had something taken away from them, but because they did not say no, there's nothing that they can really do about it. Coercion is something like if you decide to get butt naked while somebody is fully clothed and sex hasn't even been on the table, especially if it's from a woman's standpoint. Fear can enter into your mind. The thing that can enter into your mind is, I don't want to be raped, so I might as well go along. Or here we go again. As a male, I've talked to men and I've seen instances where men have been accused of being gay if they didn't sleep with a woman. So there's something on both sides. Sexual abuse can happen within marriages. Now, I know, some Israelites, some Christians will be like, the marriage bed is undefiled. A woman is not supposed to deny her husband and vice versa, but no still means no. You have people who will expect for you to sleep with them and physically please them when you're sick, when you're not feeling well, after they've just beaten you, after they've given you a STD, after they've cheated, when they come home smelling like someone else. Sexual abuse, unfortunately, happens to some while they're still babies, while they aren't even able to vocalize. There have been babies that have been murdered from being sexually abused. Sexual abuse is a coercion, and it's very, 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 very dominant in the Black community. And that's something that I'm going to talk about in a totally different video. So the next one is psychological or emotional abuse. Emotional abuse in relationships, romantic relationships, can show up in the form of withholding sex, withholding affection, withholding intimacy, withholding communication. It can also show up as ignoring your emotional needs or chiseling away at your psyche little by little by throwing out little daggers like, oh, you gained weight, or why you so skinny, or you sure you want to wear that? Things that'll make you question yourself. Or if you share an idea, you share an endeavor, and there's always something that has to be said to negate what it is that which you desire. That's psychological abuse, in order to set you up so that you can doubt yourself, and now you can become codependent on them for your validation. It is very, very, very important that we find validation on the inside of ourselves, and that we remember that our codependency is up on the Most High, because people will invalidate you. People call you stupid. People call you dumb. A lot of people that operate in psychological and emotional abuse, I'll couple this in with verbal abuse, because this a lot of times is done by using moments that you have been vulnerable with them, and then they use it against you, like, oh, I knew your daddy issues was gonna come out. Now you can't trust me because of what your dad did to your mama. Or, oh, look at how you talking to me, you talk like that because of how your mother talked to your father. Or a woman will say to a man, oh, look at you crying because you grew up without no daddy. Things like that. It's emotional and it's psychologically wearing down. This shows up in parenting, when parents call their kids dumb, call their kids stupid, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do this, I don't believe in you. Or, you sure you want to do that? You might want to try another hobby. Not allowing the child to be built up in their self-esteem. This goes into parents who don't hug their children, who don't kiss their children, who don't listen to their children, who never know how to apologize and how to self-regulate their emotions, who never own up to their faults and to their flaws, who have explosive personalities without any type of balance or without any type of recognition of saying, you know what, I need to step back. Mommy's not in a good mood. Daddy's not in a good mood. Or you have made me so angry, I cannot discipline you right now because I do not want to hurt you. But instead of having the wisdom and a wherewithal to control ourselves as parents, a lot of times we will physically, emotionally, and psychologically tear into our children. There are too many instances where parents have had a bad day, so they come home and take it out on kids versus saying, hey guys, I'm not in a good mood. I had a messed up day. I can't deal with this right now. There's a way to healthily express yourself as a parent. And when you find yourself in them instances where you have not, it's up to you to take onus and to go back to your children and to apologize to them and to point out your own toxic behavior. Because if you do not, you are setting them up to begin to deal with disrespect, psychological and emotional and physical abuse from everybody that they come in contact with, not just their romantic relationships. Financial or material abuse. Now, this happens in so many dynamics. You'll have some when one spouse works and one spouse doesn't, so the working spouse has control of the money and they'll use that to control. They'll use that so that they could be able to go do any and everything, knowing that you don't have anywhere to go because you're dependent on them. Family do this. If you ever need to lean on family because of health issues, because of financial issues, because you're fleeing an abusive relationship, and they see that you need them, they will begin to treat you like crap. They will begin to throw things in your face because they know that you need them. This is financial and material abuse. When people can yo-yo you up and down, kick you out whenever they feel like it, take things away from you whenever they feel like it, lord over you, forgetting that the Most High is the giver and the taker. And if that we be a true Afro-Asiatic, biblical Hebraic people, and even if you be family, even if you be a good person, this is not how good people operate. They do not lead. They do not use things to lead somebody else into some type of psychological warfare. It's already hard enough needing somebody, depending on someone, but for it to be yo-yoed and used against you to break you down and to make you feel less than. This can also go into if someone is overspending money. They're taking money and they're not paying bills properly. So now you have disconnection notices, and it's not because of lack. It's because they don't care, and what it is that they want matters. They're taking money and funneling it into their personal account, knowing that the family has bills. They're racking up credit card bills. They're getting tickets on their cars. This is financial and emotional abuse. And a lot of times you see this in couples when you know that one person is always going to pick up the slack. So then you could just say, you could do whatever it is that you want to do. This happened amongst parents and children, where parents will use money to access their children, use money as a way to say that maybe they're better than the next parent, or use money to control their children, use money as to say that this is what makes them a good parent. Or they will deny their children, no, you can't go on that trip. And it's not because they don't have it, but it's because they said so. No, you can't get your hair done. It's not because they can't afford it. It's because they said so. Or even bribing their children and overspending because they lack emotional connection with their children. If you have a child and you're treating them like crap, it does not matter how much you buy them. If you are not hugging them, kissing them, and you're exposing them to any and everything without any type of consequences and repercussions from you as a parent, then you're trash. Money does not equate love in relationships. And too many times do I see with my own brown eyes men and women together in relationship, and because they dole out money on each other, then this is what love is. Friends who, because I bought you this and I did this for you, then I'm a good friend. Parents who, because they spend a little bit of money, then they're a good parent. We have taught each other to be prostitutes from a young age. It's too many little girls that I know who mothers call them out of their names, who mothers are in competition with them, but because they give them any and everything, that's what they equate with love. So now when they grow up and they get married and they start dating, and the man got money, but he calls her out her name, this is what love is. Too many times do you see little boys with his daddy in and out of his life, but whenever he pop up, he'll go about $200. Somebody come along, here you go. And because they can provide, then they ran into somebody that they call a big homie, because big homie kicked them down a little bit, not realizing that big homie don't care about you. We groom our children and we prepare them from the womb. The next type of abuse is discriminatory abuse. Discriminatory abuse are for people of different races, ethnicity, all of them other categories. In the Black community, we see discrimination amongst one each other. I'm going to talk about categories at large. Based on stereotypes, we stereotype each other. We discriminate each other because, oh, stop acting light skinned. What does that mean? When has a light skinned man now become less masculine because he's lighter? So now does that mean because the guy is darker that he's now seen as stronger? Do we not realize that that goes into the brown paper bag rule and the misnomer and the lie that if you pass the look? I used to be told, because I was darker than this. I was about my daughter's complexion, but I used to be told, "Oh, you passed the brown paper bag rule, and because of how you look, you definitely would have been master's whore. They wouldn't have had you in the field." My kids came home and told me that somebody told they light-skinned child, "Stop acting so light-skinned." They're light-skinned too. This is an issue in the Black community. We discriminate each other based on how much we make, based on the marital status. Married men, well, I can't speak for married men. Married women treat unmarried women like pariahs. And it is just the wildest thing. Of course, we know about the whole baby mama, baby daddy thing. We discriminate and we abuse one another introspectively and as a people without even realizing it. Why do we have to have abusive language towards one another as if we have not been discriminated against in the world? And we also know, the discrimination, abuse, on jobs and doctors' offices. I was a young mother, and it was this white nurse, a couple white nurses who was so mean to me when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I remember going into labor with her and my water bag broke. And they wanted to tell me my water bag hadn't broke, that I wasn't leaking, trying to send me back home. And of course, my mother wasn't going. I wasn't going. But I prayed. And the one nurse who was very, very sweet to me, she came in and she said, "No, we're admitting her." Because I had so many health issues while I was pregnant. And so that's discrimination. We say discrimination when a Black woman only option as so she think, because we be so ignorant, self-included, when it comes to natural and holistic things and dieting and things like that can rewire the cells. We end up being pushed to get hysterectomies more than anybody else. Black women die in childbirth because we are not listened to. We see discrimination on the jobs all the time. You can be on a job for a very, very long time. You get passed up for a position. So we also see organizational and institutional abuse. This type of abuse obviously happens on jobs, like I said, but I really want to own in on combining this with the discriminatory. I want to talk about the church and with the camps and how you guys treat women. That we have no voice, we have no say so, we have no right, we have no authority. We just here to drop it low and to spread it wide, to give you babies, to cook and to clean, and to be silent. We can't think, we can't speak, we can't doll ourselves up without being whores. We can't have an opinion without being called Jezebel or unruly. We're told we're not supposed to teach the word, but when last time I checked in the book of Solomon and the book of Proverbs, it's not chokmah or wisdom, not a woman. Is not the mother the first teacher of the nation? Hear me, O my son, King Lemuel. I mean, that's the Bible y'all like. Growing up in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church, watching my mother be a female preacher, becoming one myself at a very young age, at the age of 12, it was interesting because it was a competitive dynamic, and I never tried to be a man. I enjoy thoroughly being a woman, being a Black woman. I was always feminine in my presentation, but I began to see a lot of competition that wasn't made up in my mind, and things would begin to happen because we were women. And if I had not a father, if my mother had not a husband, things may have been a little bit different. But I've seen it with my own eyes. Even coming into the Israelite community, I have gotten into conversations with ill-mannered and underdeveloped mentally, physically, sociologically, and emotionally men, because of how men think that they can talk to women. So this abuse is very prevalent. The next type of abuse is going to be neglect or acts of omission. And neglect and abandonment for some go hand in hand. For me, neglect means that you just don't show up for your duty. You have a carelessness for it. It's not even a thought. It doesn't matter to you. You are self-importance. When somebody neglects you in a relationship, your needs do not matter at all. Everything is completely about them. They may breadcrumb you just a little bit so that you can constantly be in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you end up living on edge, anxious, paranoid, always questioning, always wondering, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that turns into self-neglect because you must not be good enough. They don't want to spend time with you. They want to hug you. They don't want to kiss you. They don't want to sleep with you. I'm too fat. I'm too stupid. It's something that I'm not doing right. So this turns into self-harming. Then you have abandonment, and abandonment can be even crueler because abandonment means that at one point you were on your duty. At one point you were on your job. You were showing up. You were fulfilling. You were doing what it is that what you had to do, and you left and you fled. So you got somebody used to your love, used to your understanding, used to your time, used to your space, used to all of your essence, and you abandoned them. This is hot and cold behavior. And we need to be aware of this, even with our children, neglecting their needs, neglecting their wants. People do this, and they think because they do something every now and then that they are not a neglectful parent. If you do not provide on every single level, day in and day out for your child, then you are ensuing negligence up on them. If you get them used to your love, your affection, your presence, and then you just discard, then you come back and then you pick them up and you do it all over again. Yeah. So guys, this concludes this video on today. This one was a little longer than the 10s, but this video is very, very important. I really want people to be able to see the different signs of abuse because all of us have been abused one way or another in our life. Unfortunately, a lot of us have been abused, and some of us are continuously being abused, even as we speak. So, like, comment, subscribe, share this on your social media platforms. We'll be back soon, y'all. Jacoya Gems, signing off.